Hello everyone. Okay, so as of now we have 60 attendees in our meeting. So we are just going to start. Other people may join soon. Okay. So as said by Mr. Walter Wisden, all of life is the management of risk and not its elimination. With this note, let's start today's session. A very warm good morning to one and all present over here. I am Kedar Chimote, RMC for Engineering Department, UTAS Al-Musanna. Welcome all the deans, HODs, HOS, faculty from various universities, eminent guests from RMO, SQU, and our esteemed guest speakers for today's webinar on risk management. I welcome you all.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to invite Ms. Zainab Al-Mawali, Chairperson RMC and Head of ETC Department for UTAS Al-Musanna, to give welcome note for today's webinar. Please, ma'am.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Good morning all. On behalf of University of Technology and Applied Science Al-Musanna, I welcome you all for today's webinar on risk management. At the outset, I would like to thank Risk Management Office in Sultan Qaboos University for giving us the opportunity to learn from their experienced risk management team. Our guest speaker, Ms. Nadira Al-Habsi and Dr. Asil Al-Harthi, inshallah, will spotlight to a very important topics of risk management. Is the basic outline of risk management, which will help, inshallah, every institution to prepare their roadmap for managing the risk. We are eagerly looking forward to learn from the experience and experts of the risk management team of Sultan Qaboos University. So with these words, I welcome you all and take this program forward. Bismillah, let's start. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Zainab Al-Mawali. Thank you very much, Mr. Jefferson, Mr. Dr. Nasser Al-Haddabi, for this opportunity. We are so glad today, myself and my colleague, Dr. Asil Al-Harthi, from Risk Management Office at Sultan Qaboos University. We are so glad to share with you the experience and the journey we have taken so far to implement risk management processes and procedures in the university. So I don't know if Dr. Asila have shared her file, because we have the program there. Dr. Asila will start her session. She will cover the theoretical aspect of risk management in terms of definitions, in terms of concepts, risk management process, risk management standard. So that is the part for Dr. Asila. And then we'll have a break for question and answers. Then I'll commence my session and I will be highlighting the practical aspect of risk management. How do we do it in SQU on daily basis? So that is the risk management framework of Sultan Qaboos University. And then we'll have again questions, break for questions. Let us welcome Dr. Asila, inshallah. She'll take over from here.
Inshallah. So Mr. Kedar, he will introduce the guest speaker, Dr. Asila and Dr. Nadira, and after that, inshallah, we'll start the sessions.
Okay.
Yes, Mr.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. So now it's time to introduce our today's eminent guest speakers. We are very fortunate to have these two eminent speakers from Sultan Qaboos University. Our first guest is Ms. Nadira Al-Habsi. She is Acting Director of Risk Management Office at Sultan Qaboos University. She has worked closely with the different units at university to identify, assess, and manage the risk in their respective areas. She assists in developing plans to reduce risk in strategic, academic, and operational programs at the university. She has experience of teaching as a lecturer in a College of Economics and Political Science for 7 years. She has also experience of 4 years as an Assistant Director in Academic Innovations Assistant Program sponsored by Research Council. She has completed her Master in Disaster Management from Bournemouth University. I welcome you all. I welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dr. Asila Al-Harthi, HOD Strategic and Academic Risk Department at Risk Management Office, Sultan Qaboos University. She has completed her PhD from Cardiff University, UK. She specialized in effective communication for information security risk management. Dr. Asila has been working in Sultan Qaboos University as administrative staff for more than 20 years. She has participated in various local and international conferences based on research management. I welcome you all, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks
Now,
you for having us.
yes. So now I request Dr. Asila to start with her topic. Thank you.
Yeah, I shared my screen. Can you see my screen, the outline of my PowerPoint?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I start with this slide. First of all, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm fortunate to have given this speak today about basic of risk management. My name, as you all know by now, is Dr. Asila Al-Harthi. I'm the head of strategic and academic risk department within SKU. I would first like to go through my outline, which will explain what is risks precisely, the basics of risk, which will cover underneath it uncertainty and objectives, and what are the dimensions of risk. Then we'll go through what is risk management in general and what are the new approach recently announced in order to consider whenever we face a risk incident within an organization or within a project. Then we will go through risk management standard. There are various standards which we need to be aware of. Finally, I'll conclude by the importance of having risk register within an organization. So, Bismillah, let's start. At the beginning, everyone will define a risk in all major criteria, but not everything can be called as a risk. Basically, the basic definition of risk is the possibility of an event which will occur and affect the achievement of the strategy and business objective. If that an event affects the strategy part and the business objective, then it can be considered as a risk, but not yet. There are different angles of having also the risks in it. And basically, according to ISO risk management standard, which is global standard, they define ISO 31000. They define risk as the effect of uncertainty on an objective. So when an incident with uncertainty issues coming on, which will affect the objective, then we can call it as a risk. If that uncertainty does not affect our objective, then we need to be really careful whether to call it as a risk or not, because uncertain event or a set of circumstances that will have an effect on achievement that objective, that organization, is called a risk. Also, we need to be more precise in differentiating between the uncertainty and the objective when we have a certain and direct effect of that uncertainty on an objective. So the effect of uncertainty on objective, then it's called a risk. But if that uncertain situation does not have any effect closely or any future-wise on our objective, then it doesn't consider as a risk at all. So uncertainty that matters, which affect the objective, it can represent a risk. We can relate the uncertainty and the objective together in order to maintain the knowledge or the definition of the risk. But a risk comes with two dimensions. There are two dimensions that go all the way along on the both as like a coin. Risk and opportunity represent the two sides of the same coin. Whenever you have a risk, there is an opportunity aligned with it. You cannot have a risk by itself, and you cannot have an opportunity without having any kind of risks in it. So you cannot have one without the another. How we can tackle these two different situations? A risk is uncertainty that affects our objective.
So this uncertainty will be affected with different probability, likelihood, and then whether this risk have a positive or negative effect, then it will be considered as an opportunity. We'll explain it further also by defining what is opportunity in the first place. The opportunity, according to COSO, is an action or potential action that creates or alerts goals or approaches for creating or preserving the value. So the opportunity is like a room for improvement, which we'll come and discuss it in details with a new approach of risk. So from having this definition of opportunity, we can go back to the definition of risk by stating that the risk is an uncertain event or condition. If it occurs, it has either a positive or a negative effect on our objective. So the risk includes both sides. If it has a positive effect, then we'll consider it as an opportunity. But if that uncertain event has a negative effect on our objective, then this negative effect will be like a threat. And obviously it needs a treatment in order to minimize its effect on our objective and strategy within the organization. Therefore, we'll move to what is the definition of risk management in general. Risk management basically is the objective of project risk management to increase the probability or the impact. It's and or, because most of the time it can have an impact or of a positive and negative effect. So this impact can be positive or negative depending on the uncertain event that is happening. So risk process should cope with both in order to address them professionally, whether it's an opportunity to make a change within an organization or it's a threat that need to be mitigated through different countermeasures or mitigation process in order to minimize its effect. So how we can differentiate between a threat or an opportunity by considering the new approach of risk. Having a risk, it's not only thinking about what could go wrong or how bad it could be or how things will get worse, but also a risk can be an opportunity to how we can do better within our organization, how we can consider this as a room for improvement of discovering new angles of improving our work for a future project. Can we make our own luck by thinking outside the box and inventing other ways of mitigating it? So within the new approach also, it's not basically about avoid or transfer or reduce the risk. It's about the potential to minimize the identified risk to be within our good. So the new approach of risk, it's about experiencing new angles of improvement within our project, is to share our experience with someone else in order to help them to align with us and also to maximize and enhance our chances of having a new plan within our project. It might be cost effective if we consider a new route and applying a certain idea or objective. There are various standards of addressing the risk from different angles, but we'll go through them very lightly. When it started with the risk management standard ISO 31000, which is the most famous standard, which is applicable to most of the business people who try to adopt it within organization. But there are also information security risk standard, which is ISO 27000, which is already adopted within Oman in telecommunication companies in order to minimize their risks. Also, there is information security risk management standard, which is ISO 27005. Basically, this standard is the same as risk management standard ISO 31000. The only difference between the two, or the major difference, is the ISO 27000 consider the information security risk more precisely. This framework is very famous in risk management world because they tend to use it very often, and they tend to improve it in order to eliminate different types of risks. The most crucial part where they start with is the communication and consultation part. Basically, this part is carried on from the first instant until the end, and it's a continual process, as well as monitoring and review. Whenever they start a project, they have to consider what are the different parts in each stage. Let's say in establishing the contents, let's say that you are discussing healthcare, as we are all suffering now from COVID-19. So if we are establishing the contents will be within the healthcare, so this framework will be adopted. And what are the different elements in here about risk assessment, risk identification, risk analysis, risk evaluation, and risk treatment. All of these criteria will go through it in detail. Risk assessment is basically to assess this event or uncertainty. Does it affect our objective? Does it affect our strategy within this project or not? If it does affect it, then we need to list it, either all the different types of risks, whether it's high or low. And then the next step, when we identify this risk, we need to identify who is the owner of this risk, how it can make an effect. Is it high effect? Is it low effect? Is it medium effect? Once we carried out this identification, we'll move on again to the risk analysis. Does this risk worth solving it at this stage, or it has a low effect and we can leave it aside because it's not cost effective to address it at this time in the project, and we can leave it for a future reference? Or the other way around, is this risk is high impact in our objective, and accordingly we need to address it at this time, because then in future it will cause other types of risks to be high as well. So this kind of risk analysis is very important, and also it reflects our risk evaluation, whether to assess this risk at this time or not. Within the risk evaluation, we have to consider all the various aspects that we did consider in the earlier stages, from risk assessment, risk identification, risk analysis. And then we'll move to risk treatment. Basically, from the risk treatment, it can vary according to the domain. Is it a technical risk? Is it management risk? Is it security risk? Or even is it legal risk, which need a treatment? By addressing this treatment option, we have to monitor and review, as well as communicate and consultation through all the process from the beginning to an end. It's like a cycle where we go all over it again. When we monitor and review, this monitoring and review will help us to assess the identified risk. Is the mitigation working out? Is it appropriate, or it need to be changed? If this solution is not appropriate, then we have to change it all over away, and as well as the communication with the relevant part. Is this strategy appropriate for this project, or this strategy need to be changed? Because if the solution worked for one risk, obviously it will not work for the other risk. Obviously, it depends on different types of risk. In order to address this framework correctly, we need to maintain risk register. What do we mean by risk register? Risk register is a document of assessment with appropriate countermeasure or mitigation process. There are different elements within this risk register. With, for instance, you may have the risk description of it, impact, likelihood, risk owner, and mitigation, and also the dates when that department or that person had modified this risk register table. In order to enhance your understanding more, I provided here the risk register, where it has a risk description. You can have a serial ID for each risk and even the dates when it entered in the project. Does this risk description include the purpose of that risk and a clear identification of it, and the likelihood, how likely this event will occur? Is it medium, high, or low? And then we can have impact if the risk is occur very frequently, so it need to be addressed as among the high importance, or it's rarely occur within that certain time line with the project, which need to be left aside or addressed immediately. The severity is rating based on impact and likelihood. there is a certain calculation mechanism where you need to calculate how severe this risk is. And also we have a risk owner, who is the person who managed this risk. Sometimes it's not a person, or it can be a department, it can be a certain teamwork who are entitled to address those type of risks within this timeline for them, and what kind of mitigation action you propose in there. Is it an action is to reduce the likelihood of that risk from the first place, from the source itself, or it's a different mechanism? In order to enhance your understanding, I provided you with another example of risk register. Let's consider that there is a risk of safeguarding patient information. So the description of this risk will be safeguarding patient health records in Oman hospital with the key regulations. Having this risk will have a high impact because disclosing confidential information will have a severe impact on patient privacy. So the likelihood of having this occur to this incident to happen is medium. So the risk level will be here considered as a high because having disclosed confidential information will have a serious event. In order to maintain or to reduce this risk, the mitigation process can be technical, where we implement several layers of authentication, such as user login, administrative privilege based on their role and responsibility. If you are the doctor, then you can access the patient file. If you are the nurse, you can access the patient file. If you are not dealing with this patient precisely, then you should not have any privilege of accessing their information. And for this example, the risk owner will be the Oman hospital, and it is like a process risk. In order to explain the impact and likelihood in more detail, where there's a certain definition from COSO, which states that the result of effect of risk may be range different possible impact associated with the risk. The impact of the risk may be positive as an opportunity to improve, or this impact of risk can be negative, which results in harming relative the entity strategy or business objective. So it will be like a threat. It has a negative effect, then it will be called as a threat. And the impact can be assessed against the objective in order to know, is it a positive or a negative effect? So again, the objective has to be assessed, and with this incident, does it have a positive? This uncertainty helps or harm the organization? Does this uncertainty help us to improve the project to a better position, or it will harm and will be cost effective and will result in other complication? So it need to be wise, it need to be managed wisely in order to know exactly, is it a positive or a negative impact? When it comes to the likelihood is the possibility that an event will occur. There is this calculation is the risk equal to effect times probability. How often this incident will happen? Does it have an effect on this event? Is it uncertainty have a positive or negative effect? This calculation will result on the risk. In conclusion, did provide with the different differentiation between uncertainty that affects the objective. Is it a positive or negative effect, and how it that relate to the definition of risk? And that risk, is it a threat or which can harm the achievement of risk objective, or it's a help mechanism which represents like an opportunity to solve or to open a room for a new room for addressing the risk objective in a more professional manner. And then we discovered the new approach of risk and thinking outside the box, that the risk is not something to harm our organization, but it's also a way to improve our work better. And both of these threats and opportunities need to be managed professionally. And this management process will result in risk management within any project or any domain. As we explained also, the early warning of risk will enable proactive of risks by managing it through risk register table, which will help the organization or the institution to be more organized in addressing different types of risks in a professional way by knowing exactly what is the risk description, risk owner, and risk impact and likelihood, and how often they modify that risk. There are different types of risk register. It depends on the domain that they are working on it. This is the final slide in my presentation. I hope you all managed to follow it correctly. I would welcome any set of questions you may have in this part.
Thank you, ma'am. Now it's time to get the answers to your queries. So I request all, please, you can ask your queries one by one to Dr. Asila, and even you can post your queries in the chat box. So everyone, please.
Thank you, Dr. I am Dr. Nasser Haddabi. Thank you, Dr. Asila, for this informative presentation. Just I have one question about the treatment plan or mitigation plan.
Okay.
Who prepared this plan? The risk owner or the risk management office, and why?
Basically, the mitigation plan, it depends on the team that you are working. Let's say that you are in charge of risk management for operational risk. So your role is to identify the risk as well as to propose a mitigation plan to address this risk. You can't do this process by your own. It has to be like working in teams, because different teams will have different thoughts in the project. Let's say that you are trying to implement a different strategy within your college, and this strategy involves different team players, different departments within your college. So you can identify, the team may identify different set of risks based on the strategy and objective that they are proposing. From those set of strategies and objectives, you can come up with different sets of risks. And basically those risks, you can propose different set of mitigation in order to align with it. Not necessarily those risks are all entitled to be addressed at the same time. There are high risk and low risk. So depends on your, let's say if it's like requires certain budget, your budget is really minimum and you cannot address them all. You can maintain risk analysis in order to evaluate which one, the more severe one, to address it in the right time.
I would like to add something also to the answer of Dr. Asila, Dr. Nasser.
Yes.
About risk owners. The risk owners depends on the level of risk. In Sultan Qaboos University, we have risks at units level, and units, we refer to units as the colleges, the centers, the administrative units. In each college, in each unit, we have a risk committee, and this risk committee is responsible to come up with the list of risks that affect their unit, and they are the risk owners. The risk owner in this case will be the dean of that unit or the director of that unit. And then we'll have the risk action owner, those who are required to implement those mitigations. So it is not the responsibility of risk management office to put the risk mitigation plans for the risks at unit levels. It's about guiding them into the process of implementing those different elements of the risk process, starting from risk identification throughout monitoring and communication. Is
Okay,
it clear? And we have also, yes, and we have also risks at strategic level. These are usually the risk owners for strategic risk. It is the president of the university. In our case, it is the vice chancellor and the 3 DVCs, deputy vice chancellors. So we have risk at strategic levels, and this comes under their ownership. They're responsible to put the mitigation plans. Risk Management Office is there as a facilitator. You follow up on these mitigation plans. Yes, so I hope it's clear.
Yeah, so this means Risk Management Office, they guide the other units to how to put the mitigation plan.
Yes, and that I will explain in details in the session I'll cover.
Okay.
Yes.
It will be more explained through the
Thank you very
examples,
much.
how they explain it in
You're
SQ.
welcome. Yes.
Yeah.
Just I have one question also. Is that mean the Risk Management Office, they receive only the risk level which is impact to the achieve the goals of Sultan Qaboos University, which is after يعني analysis and after check the KPIs of the services or of the يعني after the do the mitigation plan, treatment, the risk. After that, you will receive the reports, which is the risk for get step for يعني to solve it. Does that mean?
Dr. Asila, you'd like to answer or I answer?
Yeah, I didn't get your question precisely, Ms. Zainab. What's your question again?
يعني you have now a committee in different centers and departments, and they have their risk registry, and they have a mitigation plan. They have their treatment plan. So after all this process, as Risk Management Office in Sultan Qaboos University, you will receive only the major risk which its impact to the Sultan Qaboos level. I mean, after the check the KPIs of that services or of the يعني for example computer services, if they check the KPIs, is they reach the goals or not reach the goals. If not reach the goals, that means there is risk. If reach the goals and it is, I mean, more than what they expected, that means some things have, yani, some opportunities there. So your final report will come to analysis all this major risk, or you will also again do a process like put a mitigation plan again for that type of risk.
Okay, what is happening now was that in our SKU, there are different committees in each college of risk management. Those committees are required to to meet in every semester once, at least one time, and they can meet more than one time, obviously, in order to address what are the different types of risks within their college and how they maintain their mitigation process in them. This mitigation process is according to their own college. Obviously, College of Education, College of Economic and Finance is different than College of Engineering, different than College of Medicine. In case those colleges did not come up with the mitigation process and they need a support from Risk Management Office, that there is a key person who are in communication process with each college. So they will align with them in order, if they need, obviously, help to mitigate the risk. If, as you said, the KPI is already met within the college level, then already they need to just report to the Risk Management Office. There is no check and error or from time to time. It's like a help process, help support from both sides. Risk Management Office providing all the necessary details. This part precisely will be explained when Ms. Nadira talk about her part, because from her experience, we can know exactly how SKU implement risk management process within university. There is another question in the chat area, where is how the risk management is important in education sector. The risk management is important, is in fact highly important, not only in education sector, but in all different sectors in, let's say, in health and communication. If you don't address the risk in the right time, it might cause other complication. Some of the businessmen run out of the market, let's say, because they didn't address a tiny risk, which could have addressed in the early stages of their project. So having risk management is very important in education sector. If there are, obviously in education sectors, there are different types of issues, let's say, not a problem, issues. If it's not solved in the early stages, then it can be considered and getting high, then it will reach to the risk level, because that risk have uncertainty which affect our objective. So if the issues affecting your objective within either education sector or other sector, that uncertainty which affect your objective, obviously it will harm your successful implementation of your project.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. I have one question.
Yeah.
You said that risk is something that affects the objective.
Yeah.
One thing, how opportunity can be a threat to the objective. Another one, what type of risk now can be predicted for education sector during pandemic? What precautions we should take?
The first part of your question about the probability, I didn't get it.
How opportunities can be a threat to our objective? You should say we should look at the threat as well as the opportunities.
Yeah.
How opportunities can be a threat for the objective of any organization?
Now, what we went is that uncertainty, if it has a positive effect, then it can be considered as an opportunity to improve our work mechanism. But if that uncertainty affect our objective in a negative way, which will harm our mechanism. Let's give an example through online education. The pandemic causes us to move to the online in order to teach our students, right? So at the beginning, we couldn't, we have the tools. We have Google Meet, we have Google Classroom. Those tools were available there before the pandemic, but we didn't use it in order to teach our students because we do have the privilege of meeting them face-to-face to interact with them. But because of the pandemic, this uncertain accessibility issues which affect our objectives is to provide learning journey to our students, we have to move to the online. So we consider the opportunity to improve our learning journey for our students. It can be face-to-face if the students have opened their camera on all the sessions. It depends on the connections, of course. But what is the cool part here, the crucial part, is the opportunity in online learning was really used as a positive effect, that we did continue our journey of learning for our students. It didn't stop. It didn't completely stop. It did provide us a room to give the learning journey to our students. Obviously, it's not very interactive as the face-to-face learning, but still we can provide knowledge to our students and they can ask questions.
Okay. Ma'am, there is one.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Asila. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Asila. Thanks for your well-informed presentation. I have one question regarding, in generally at educational institutions, we consider risk, it's a general perception that risk is related mostly to health and safety, So how do you see health and safety and risk management? What comes under them? For example, I mean to say, does health and safety come under risk management? Or is it risk management coming under health and safety?
Risk management is like an umbrella which has different angles. It can have health and safety as part of it. In fact, we do have as a department in risk management office as health and safety. We do have operational risk department. We do have academic and strategy risk. Most of your questions, I think, will be really explained through Ms. Nadira's session because she will cover that part in a minute.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Abdullah Al-Azri, he raised his hand. Mr. Abdullah.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Asila, Jami'an. I have one question. I'm asking about the role of the staff engagement. How you engage the staff in this process? Thank you.
They can be involved, those staff, are they involved in implementing the strategy within your college?
I mean, the SKU staff. What's their role on this process?
Again,
Are they allowed to provide risks or to register some of the risks expected? Or it's only the management's work and responsibility? Thank you.
your part of the question really fall with Ms. Nadira part, because she can explain exactly how did they establish the management office within SKU, and from then we can come back again to your question.
Thank you, Doctora.
You're welcome.
Okay. I think we have finished with this query session for this first session. Now I just request Ms. Nadira to go with her presentation topic, and I think maximum queries of the attendees can be solved with her session. So I just welcome Ms. Nadira for her presentation. Thank you.
I'll try to share my PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
Okay, so can you see this slide?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay. So thank you, Dr. Asila, for highlighting the theoretical aspect of risk management, general definitions and key concepts. My part or my role will be focusing on the practice of risk management in Sultan Qaboos University, and I'll be talking about risk management framework. Okay. Yes. So risk management framework, as Dr. Asila already mentioned, Sultan Qaboos University has considered the international risk management standard ISO 31000. We started with the edition 2009, and there have been some updates to that edition. Now we have ISO 31000 2019. There is not much of fundamental to the guiding principles. They are the same. That standard, we are using it as the basis for developing our risk management framework for identifying, assessing, and managing risks. And how ISO defined the risk management framework, as you see from the slide, risk management framework is a set of components that provide the foundations and organizational arrangements for designing, implementing, monitoring, reviewing, and continually improving risk management throughout the organization. So based on this, I don't know if University of Applied Science Al-Musana'a have already established or their framework for risk management. But this, what it tells us here, that we need to have two main components. We need to have the foundations, and these include the risk management policy, the objectives for the risk management process, the mandates in terms of qarars that comes from higher management about how risk management will be implemented, commitments, and also to manage risk. So you need to have the foundations, which include these elements, and also the organizational arrangements in terms of the risk management plans, the relationships in terms of communication and reporting between the different units within the university, the resources that will be used, the processes and activities. So in Sultan Qaboos University, we have, alhamdulillah, the office has been established since 2016. We have come across these elements. We have developed, let us say, 90% of these requirements. So we have the risk management policy, and we have the risk management policy, the risk management governance in terms of the structure between top management, risk management office, and the other units within SQ is clear with regard to risk management. We have the risk management process, and I will explain how we align it with ISO 31000. We have the risk committees, and I'll go through that and explain the structure of the risk committees we have. Also, we have developed strategic and academic risk framework. We have operational risk framework. We have HSE code of practice, and this is mainly about risks related to the area of health, safety, and environment, because this is a department that comes under our office. And later on, I'll show you the structure of the office. And also we have a strategic risk register. Dr. Asila already covered the concept of risk register. I'll take you through what is included and how do we categorize those risks, the type of risk, the subcategories. So we'll share this information. So what I was explaining, these are the elements that we have managed to develop in accordance to the requirements of ISO 31000. These are elements of the risk management framework of Sultan Qaboos University. Can we move to the next slide? Yes. So within risk management policy, main guide principles. And I remember a question of one of the participants. He was asking, what about the role of the staff within the university? It is mandated in risk management policy that everyone in the university has responsibility for managing risk. So everyone has to report if there is a risk within your unit. You can report it to the risk committee. You can report it directly to risk management office. We have actually we have initiated an open link between the office and the all units of SQU. It's called Share With Us. Share With Us, anybody can send any risk that he sees feasible in his workplace directly to our email, and usually sometimes these risks comes under needs some kind of confidentiality. So they share with us directly through the email with the risk management office, and then we act based on that risk we have received. We go there, we check the situation. It's not like investigating, but trying to talk to people within that department that we receive such risk. What you're doing about it, what are your mitigation regarding this. So we try to open that dialogue with the unit. So this is an open channel between us and the and SQ staff. But each unit has their own risk committee. They can report to the risk committee. If there is no, let us say, if the risk committee has not responded on that risk, they can somehow communicate directly with the risk management office. So the guiding principles in the risk management policy is that risk management is fundamental in achieving SQ set objectives. And I'm going to explain how we have integrated risk management within the establishment of the SQ strategy and planning of the next operation plan for SQ for 2021 to 2025. Risk assessment will be conducted on all new initiatives, projects and programs prior to commencement. And this is happening actually. Now we have been working on strategic projects which are going to affect the institutional level of SQ. We have teaching and education. There are some actions to improve within that area to increase excellence of teaching and learning as a strategic objective of SQ. And also we have strategic project now going on improving the financial profile of Sultan Qaboos University. Also we have another project that focuses again on teaching methods. Another one focuses on online learning. So we have all these different strategic projects which has been initiated recently. They are around 20 strategic projects, and risk management office was involved into setting the risks for each actions under each project. So we have been busy the last 2 to 3 months sitting down, discussing those risks, putting those risks for these strategic projects. And this actually comes under the final plan of how we are going to implement the SQ strategy at the end. So risk assessment is already integrated within the strategy planning and within strategic project planning. Also, another guiding principle that risk will be assessed using the risk score matrix given in this policy. SQ follows a qualitative risk assessment method, which uses the 5x5 risk score matrix. And this is, we find it like easy to include information obtained from risk processes. Risk are recorded in the risk register. We are not yet into risk quantitative methods. Those need softwares and modeling. Still, we haven't launched into that stream. It's optional if you want to use quantitative. It needs time and efforts and special tools and expertise. It includes modeling, simulation, and other things. So we are basically now focusing on the qualitative technique of risk assessment based on likelihood and probability, and we'll go through that in the coming slides. Now, looking into the risk management governance of Sultan Qaboos University, I try to make it as simple and straightforward. We have 3 levels of supervision. We have the main risk committee at the top, and this is at senior level. This is chaired by the Vice Chancellor himself. The members are the 3 Deputy Vice Chair major units. For example, the Director of Procurement, the Director of Finance, the Director of Risk Management Office is there as a member within that main risk committee. So that is the highest level. It discusses the issues at a strategic level with regard to risk management. And then we have the next layer or line of defense for risk management. We have the Risk Management Office. And the Risk Management Office works as a facilitator between the top management and the unit level of the university. So we receive mandates and yes, you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Yes.
Please.
So we receive, so we try to disseminate whatever decisions from the top management throughout the unit level risk committees, and also escalate issues, because usually risk committees in the units, they have their own risk and own mitigation plans, and things are within the capacity of the college to deal with it in terms of budget, in terms of resources. If things escalate, we needed a more advanced mitigation, which requires certain resources. This is communicated to Risk Management Office, and then this will be raised in the agenda of the main risk committee meetings, will be discussed, and then we'll try to validate some of the mitigations that is needed extra beyond the, the capacity of the college itself. So we are there in the middle as a facilitator. We have worked so hard under Prof. Salam Al-Harthi. He was the previous director of Risk Management Office, and now he's the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs and Community Service. So the philosophy of the establishment of the office since 2016, the first 2 to 3 years, we focused all the activities of risk management was on building and disseminating awareness of risk management. What is risk management? What is needed from you? So working closely with the risk committee at the units inside the university. We do have a gathering for all risk committees once every semester. We gather all the risk committees. We have around 35 risk committees, and in each committee we have the head of each department within the college or within the admin unit or within the center and deanships. So we meet once every semester. If there is a new implementation of processes, any new updates of risk register templates, any issues that either comes from risk management office or from the risk committees is discussed during those gatherings. So these gatherings are really important in trying to revive the culture of risk management within units of SQU. Then we have, so these are the three layers: the main risk committee, risk management office, and then risk committees in colleges, centers. We also and the risk committee of the hospital also report to risk management office and other administrative units. Can we move back? I wanted to mention something there. Yes, you will see here, I put this one, this department, planning and statistics department. Recently, as I mentioned this before, we started, we haven't been doing this before. We started recently trying to embed the risk management decision within the strategy of SKU. Before it was used to be done, but risk were not in the researched, but there is a thorough for doing that, and collaboration and because they are the one involved in the executive committee for developing the strategy and plan for Sultan Qaboos University as a whole. So we started teaming with them, and we started getting feedback from them and inputs from to putting those risks for the strategy. Okay, can we move to next slide? Thank you very much. Now, when we come to risk management governance, here I just put the general responsibilities or roles of the different stakeholders of risk management in Sultan Qaboos University. We have the Vice Chancellor. Vice Chancellor, His Highness Dr. Said Fahad. He has the overall responsibility for setting and supporting the system for risk management in terms of commitment, resources and budgets. We do have an independent budget for the office, and also ensures strategic risks are effectively managed. We have strategic risk register, so we do the follow-up of implementing those mitigation plans and updating of risk register. It starts initially in the office and then goes to the senior management, and then they validate and approve that draft strategic risk register. We have the main risk committee. These are the roles. They approve risk management and emergency plans and supervise its implementation, maximize university readiness in one of the participants asked how we can consider risk as a threat and opportunity, something related to this idea. Well, an example that Dr. Asila gave, the pandemic now. The pandemic is one of the strategic risks now that should be there, visible in the risk, in the strategic risk register. It has both impacts. It has negative impact and it has positive impact as well. The negative impact that all the face-to-face activities, not only teaching and learning, even other administrative activities now cannot be done as normal, and that is the negative impact. But the opportunity now, we have moved into online learning. This online learning in Sultan, the culture was not very mature before the pandemic, but now we have the opportunity to utilize this. I mean, when the pandemic is over, we have plans to utilize the online learning, to strengthening the online platforms and other issues related, for example, to, you know, academic integrity is very difficult to maintain on online settings. So these are the issues we need to work on and utilize in order to strengthen the online medium of interaction, and also to include it as part of teaching and learning, as a norm in teaching and learning techniques in SPU. So that is the opportunity. So when you put in the risk register, the risk itself sometimes can have negative and positive impact as well. The negative, you have your mitigations for that. The opportunity, which is the positive, and by the way, we describe it as an opportunity in the risk register. We describe it as an opportunity, and how to exploit that opportunity. We put also plans to mitigate and to exploit this opportunity. We have the risk management office, and I'll show you the structure of it. Then we have the unit level risk committees distributed across colleges, centers, deanships, hospital, admin units. Now, we need to say something about unit level risk committees. I don't want you to imagine that at this stage all these risk committees are active. No, this is only some of the units are very active, especially the scientific colleges. You know, they have the risks related to chemicals and storing of chemicals. So the risk committees are active in this regard. But other risk committees, we haven't. I want to say we haven't initiated for officially. We haven't started that dialogue. It's there by qarar. It's established by qarar. The members are there, but still they are in the process of activating those risk committees. So don't expect that all risk committees in all centers, in all administrative units active. The priority was first to activate the risk committees at the colleges, because there we find the main risk areas, and then the major administrative units, finance and procurement, and then later on the other research centers. So we are activating those risk committees by stage. Internal audit department, what is the relationship between auditing and risk management office? Well, auditing is an independent unit. They actually oversee and they audit the risk management processes, our activities and our process. So they do audit our process. Quality assurance office, again, they make sure that risk management policy is disseminated across the university as required. So this is explaining the relationship between units and risk management office. Here, another stakeholder I didn't put, but students as well, major stakeholders, staff as well, major stakeholders. For students, because again, mashallah, Sultan Qaboos University, on daily basis, you will find in campus no less than 5,000 to 6,000 students walking around. So, and you know, with students, again, there is sources of other risks that come from students as well. So what we have established the Risk Management Student Society. And this Risk Management Student Society, it's mainly a student activity. And it's reporting, before it was reporting directly under the supervision of Risk Management Office. So we imply what are the kind of awareness activities based on the needs of SQU. So it was under the supervision of Risk Management Office, and then there was some changes where all student activities should come under Deanship of Student Affairs, but still we have that close relationship with the Student Risk Management Society. We have the head of one of HSC is supervising this student society. We look through their annual plans for activities. We attend their workshops. We motivate them. So, alhamdulillah, there is this interactive relationship with the students. Can we move to the next slide? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so this is the Risk Management Office structure. We are reporting directly to the Vice Chancellor Office. We have VC Office and then RMO Director. We have coordination and action. Under RMO Director, we have RMO Deputy Director, and that was and this is originally my post. I am the Deputy Director of Risk Management Office, but since we have a director now, I'm acting on behalf of the director. And we have these four departments: Strategic and Academic Risk Department, Operational Risk Department. And Operational Risk Department is mainly about risks that happens in the system, in, for example, IT systems, procurement systems, housing inventory systems, chemical inventory systems. So it's mainly about that happens or might happen to processes, to systems, to people within the university. We have the third department, Health, Safety and Environment Department. So risks in general also consider these, the related to HS and the Risk Management Office. And actually, it's a huge responsibility. It's a huge job, because mainly all the risks at the meantime, let me say 60 or 70% of the risk we face comes from health, safety, and environment. And then we have the fourth department. This is about awareness, raising awareness and training and conducting workshops on health and safety issues and other related types of risks. Okay, Jefferson, can you please move to the next slide? Thank you. Okay, as actually explained some of this in the previous slides, RMO operation model. You can decide how to approach risk management within your organization. You want to work as a police and go investigate and force compliance. Okay, this is one of the responsibilities of risk management office. You need to follow on compliance. But the operation models Qaboos University has selected is being as a facilitator. So we work with the lower level, and also we facilitate and raise issues to the top management and vice versa. So we are as a facilitator. We are not policing. We are not going to blame people who has responsible for these risks. It's facilitation, helping, guiding, raising awareness. That is mainly our role. And Sultan Qaboos University, as other higher education institutions, work relatively in a stable environment with predictable demands from external stakeholders. It's not like other industries where things keep change quickly and we need to adapt our risk registers. Somehow, higher education institutions, we need a stable environment. So risk management, we facilitate it. We provide advice to the Vice Chancellor on strategic and operational risk. And then it's up to the top management whether to go ahead with these recommendations or not. Thank you, Jefferson. Yes. Now regarding risk management process, and this is just to show that we adhere to ISO 31000. And by the way, there is another risk management standard, that is the COSO ERM. And again, there is not much differences between the two. The foundation principles and guidance are the same, maybe the focus of each standard. But the good thing about ISO, they have actually released another edition which explains specifically the techniques for assessing risk. That for Sultan Qaboos University, we utilize both. The ISO 31000 and also COSO ERM in implementing risk management processes and systems. So this is the main risk management process. It is generic. It can be applied in any sector, and that is a very good advantage of ISO. It can be implemented in higher education institutions. It can be implemented in other industries. So these are the steps: establishing the context, risk identification, risk analysis, risk evaluation, and the other elements of the process. Let me go to the next slide. Yes. Now, how do we implement the risk management process? For example, I mentioned this before, that we have risks at two levels: strategic risks, and these are the top under the responsibility of senior management. And then we have the unit risk level. With the strategic risk, when we follow the risk management process, the first one, establishing the context. When establishing the context means what? You understand if there is if there is any external, social, cultural, political, legal, technological, any kind of impacts or changes outside the organization that would impact our processes. Like, for example, the pandemic. This is outside the authority of, or outside the area of the university, but again, it's impacting our operations. So it's about understanding what are the risks in the outside, in the external environment that would impact our strategy. And also, when we set and develop strategic risk, we look at the strategy itself of SKU. And there is one very important thing. If you don't have objectives, you don't have risks. Again, you cannot put risks without having objective first. Risks are linked to objectives. So if you don't have objectives yet, you cannot just sit down and discuss the risks that the unit could face. You need first to have the department objectives, the college objectives, the university objectives, and based on these objectives, you start what are the impacts or what are the risks, the potential events in the surrounding environment that might affect these objectives. So that is about establishing the context, understanding what is going around, using the strategy, using the strategic objectives as a guidance to the process of the next step, which is risk identification. So risk identification with regard to strategic risk, risk management office director with the head of strategic and academic. What we do, we actually use SKU strategy. It's as a starting point to initially identify the risk events that could hinder the university from achieving its objectives. So risk RMO director, along with the head of strategic and academic risk department, we start putting risks for each objective. We can have more than one risk for each objective. And of course, we're putting risk that would really impact the achievement of these objectives. The outcome of this step, we have a draft strategic risk register. So this comes out from risk management office. We put that draft, and usually we don't advise that risk register to contain more than 25 risks on strategic level. That is too much to handle within a specific period of time. So we came up with this draft strategic risk register, and this draft goes now to the Vice Chancellor and the 3 Deputy Vice Chancellor to validate it, to approve it, to add on it, to discuss it. And this is actually, we might discuss it based on meetings individually with each stakeholder, or it could be discussed through main risk committee. If it is approved, then it means people, they know their responsibilities with regard to these risk. And what do we put in that strategic risk? I didn't put I didn't share with you the strategic risk register template. We put the risks there, we put the probability, the impact, the risk scoring, the risk rating, and then are there existing controls? For example, if we have put a risk regarding to academic integrity, maybe saying all students now, we have this trend with online teaching, the misconduct with regard to academic integrity, too much cheating is going on. So this could be one of the risks listed in the risk register. And what are the existing controls? Of course, you have some policies with regard to academic integrity. Okay, is it effective? Do we need to put more controls? Again, we are putting mitigations. And then who is responsible to own those risks? Who is responsible to implement it? And then the deadline. And even we mentioned the action owner. The action owner is PC, or the action owner could be DVC of community or of academic affairs, or DVC for higher studies. So this is all mentioned in that template with deadlines, all clear in the strategic risk register. Okay, can we move to the next slide? Okay. The unit level, it's referred to as tactical and operational risk, and these are at unit level. Risk Management Office is not involved directly into developing the risk register of the unit. They are the expert within their areas. So colleges, deanships, centers, they need to sit down through the risk committee at the unit to develop that risk register. Our job only on guiding them this risk management committees gatherings about or meetings about how do we fill up those risk registers, what are the type of risk registers, how do you categorize your risk, how do you assess those risks, who is responsible for the risk. So only educating and raising awareness about the process implementation itself. But they are the one who are putting those risks. It has to be approved by the head of that unit, whether it is a director, whether it's a dean, because they are held responsible for mitigating those risks, whether it's a negative impact or positive impact. It comes to us, usually those risk committees, they send their minutes of meeting. For each meeting they set in the college or in the center, they send us their minutes of meeting. So we keep a follow-up of those minutes of meetings. What are the type of risk that had been discussed? What actions had been taken? And we work on those actions. We follow up. Okay, is everything okay? If the college want to escalate some of these risks and they want the intervention of risk management office, then we intervene. And that is, again, the role of a facilitator. So RMO role is to guide the unit risk committee through the implementation of risk management process, but we are not held responsible for managing their risks or for putting their risks. I hope this is clear. Thank you, Jefferson. Can we go to the next slide? Yes. When it comes to risk assessment, risk identification, people will ask who are supposed to put those risks, who are supposed to list those risks or discuss those risks. Again, the risk committee in the unit. The risk committee can get the help or advice of other staff in the college. You know, they have different expertise in different areas. We have people who are expert in chemistry. We have people who are expert in dealing with biohazards. We have people who are experts in for example, to improve the practice in the college. So we can get the help and the advice of other members in the college. It's not like strictly done by risk committee, other team members as needed. The risk assessment, as I mentioned, RMO uses a 5x5 probability matrix to assess the risk. And if you see here, it is rated based on factors: severity, which is impact, and then frequency. So for example, we have on the scale of frequency, we have from 1 to 5. 1, it means that this event would rarely happen. Maybe in 10 years it will happen once. Like for example, tsunami, we cannot say that we'll have tsunami every year. Like the FET and the Gono, it happens every 8 to 10 years. So that is a rare event. But in terms of severity, it happens, it could have a high impact. It could be in a serious or catastrophic, depending on, on the context of your institute. So these are the scale of frequency, the scale of severity. The green means fine if we have calculated the scores of this risk, and we find that, okay, it's fine, it is within the area of, within so it means the risk is fine, there is no risk. Green means no risk. Things, the orange or the yellow, it means approaching risk appetite or risk tolerance. SKU has defined is risk appetite or risk tolerance at the score of 9. Anything with a score above 9, it means it's a high risk and it needs immediate intention from the risk owners. Okay, so we move to the, yes. So this is showing the risk appetite and control measures. And this is, by the way, it's all in adherence with the standards that we follow, the ISO. So it shows the risk score. If it is 1 to 2, this is very low. It means no harm, it's acceptable. Okay, if it is within yellow, we consider it as moderate. Excuse me, I need to drink some water. Yes, yes, I'm back. So if the risk score, the rating within orange, then okay, this is unacceptable risk, and this above 9, so it's unacceptable. We need to reduce. We need to put more mitigations. We need to reduce impact, and then very high rating. It's 15, 16, 20, 25 considered as high rating, and again we need to stop the activity immediately and put mitigation actions for that. Key messages. Key messages. Okay. Now, SKU does have a risk management policy and risk framework. Risk management office is established. It's not a police or audit. This we have security office to follow on issues of compliance in security and other things, and auditors, they have their role. HSE code of practice, this is all about, as I mentioned before, it's all about guidelines on how to deal with risks within the area of HSE, health, safety and environment. And then HSE is the responsibility of everyone. Reporting risk management risks is again responsibility of everyone. Compliance is a must, is not an option. Here we have this philosophy that okay, if you comply, we are rewarding these units, we are praising units who are really complying with the risk management practices. And then I don't want to say that word penalty, we don't do that actually. It's it's a continuous process of follow-up and trying to guide people on the process. RMO operation model is based on working together for improvement. And then there are again two sides of risk management: compliance with the mandates, with policies, with the process, and also utilizing and exploiting opportunities by not only avoiding risk, actually, by trying to take risks that would really maximize the achievement of objectives, whether at unit level or strategic level. So that's it. Thank you for your attention. Please, if you have questions, go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. The people, you can just ask if you have any queries related to these presentations, you can go ahead. And I will also request all the people who can just give their feedback after the question answer sessions regarding this seminars, this webinar, which we arranged today. Okay.
Mr. Jefferson, I need to mention something. When we wanted to conduct this seminar, we offered actually two choices for your university. We could do it as advanced course or training, and then we have like 3 days, and then we go through the techniques and all the details of using those techniques. I need to mention that what we have covered in these slides, it's general things on concepts, on techniques. But if you need deep in terms of how to use these techniques, how to use the assessment, how to do it. This is another workshop to do that.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
We appreciate that, Ms. Nadira, inshallah, and in future there is a lot of cooperation between us and communication, inshallah ta'ala.
Inshallah. Bismillah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes,
Mr. Kedar.
yeah. Yes, we have one question from Erika, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, please.
Good morning, Ms. Nadira.
Good morning.
I'm a part of RMC, UTASA, a coordinator. I would like to ask you that as per your experience in risk management, which are the major risks in educational institute usually faced? Like, we would like to have some examples of risk faced in educational institutes.
Just came to realize that I actually didn't cover one of the slides that talks about the categorization of risk, and that was actually a very important slide. We are using the risk breakdown structure, and the risk breakdown structure, I will answer your question, don't worry. I'm just, this risk breakdown structure, it's a method that you can use in order to structure your risks. I mean, description of risk, and then it's under which category, and then there is another subcategory. So we have, for example, strategic risk. Under strategic risk, we have leadership and governance. We can have risk under leadership and governance. So I wanted to show that slide to do it, if it is possible. Now about the examples of risks that could face a higher academic institution. Oh, there are many. There are many. So, you know, because we have strategic objectives, and strategic objectives that cover the domain of the strategy of the organization. So we have risks within information technology. If, for example, you don't have a centralized system that stores all data of your place, that is considered as a risk. So inadequate availability of data, that is one type of risk that comes under information technology. And then we have risks related to projects. You will find, for example, in your institution, there are projects under your college, and there are projects under procurement, and there are projects under, for example, in SQ, under hospitals. One of the risks could be that we don't have, there is no standard or central unit that would manage all these projects, because with all these projects, there is budgets, there is resources, there is deadline. There is a risk of whether we can achieve the outcome of these projects or not. So this is a risk that comes under projects. You can have risk under teaching and learning. It could be regarding to the teaching environment. You know, you might, students might complain and say, well, the way you teach the way you teach us is very traditional. We need innovative ways of teaching. So, you know, it could be classrooms are not prepared for modern teaching methods or modern teaching trends. So this is one of the risks that could be listed under teaching and learning area for a higher academic institution. And then you have student societies, you have also accreditation. I don't know about your university, but we have too many accreditation programs. People are busy throughout the year just trying to, you know, faculty and staff are burdened with achieving and performing the requirements of these accreditation along with their performing their duties. So these are type of risks that comes under different categories, whether teaching, whether project, whether information technology, whether students. I hope I answered your
Also, in terms of educational institution risk, if I may add, that there is, we faced an incident through the online learning where students tend to get help from their colleagues, their friends, in order to pass their exams. But in order to control that, we emphasize on all lecturers to set their exams through Moodle. And from there, we are able to watch their IP addresses. And if a student is using VPN in order to access the exam or the quiz, then he will be rewarded, he or she will be rewarded 0 straight away.
Yes,
so having those kind of mechanism helped a lot through the online learning.
Yes, yes. So again, that is one of the high, I consider it as a strategic risk with online as main method of teaching during pandemic. And with that risk, we have the, they put it under what they call it contract cheating. Contract cheating, you pay somebody to do your assignment, you pay someone to do your project, your piece of work for research. So this is one of the risks that comes under teaching and learning. And also there is risks regarding research as well, maintaining academic integrity, all these types of risks.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes.
Can I?
Yeah. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Ma'am, nowadays the universities, especially the technical education, is traveling through constant changes. So the approach of predictive management has changed. Most of the educational institutes, they are adapting the agile way of administrating things, changes. So how do you expect the education sector in Oman, specifically in Oman, will adopt this? And how did you plan to shift from this predictive management, even if risk or anything, from this predictive management to agile approach of managing things? What is your plan? I think it must be included in your management. How did you plan for that? How to change from this predictive way of managing things to agile way of managing things?
Well, the approach which we follow in predicting risk management, actually, the best approach for predicting risks, you should be proactive. I mean, nowadays we are waiting for incidents like maybe I don't know, was it Ms. Zainab who mentioned that you're waiting for the incident to happen. Okay, we have a misconduct of under teaching. And then we wait for the incidents to happen and then to mitigate and trying to put strategies not for this incident to happen again. But risk management basically should come from a proactive way of thinking. You should go there and and put mitigations. So that is like a general approach. But still we are on the reactive way of, I cannot say that we have moved 100% into just being proactive about risk management. Still a lot of our processes are reactive based.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Dr. Nasser, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Kida. Ms. Nadira, just have two questions. One question about for the unit level, you have a committee there and members of the committee. Are these members, they have other duties other than risk management? Or if they have other duties, does these duties affect their work as members in the risk management committee?
Of
This
course
is the
they
first
have.
question.
Yeah.
And second question, for the unit level, of course, there will be a risk identification. So the risk identification in the unit level starts from the objectives of the unit, isn't it?
Yes.
These are the two questions.
Okay, so the first question, the risk members in those risk management committees, yes, of course, they have other duties, and that is actually an extra work on them. But They are not like only doing the risk management or have other duties. They are members in other committees as well. Yes, Dr. Nasser. Dr. Nasser, or?
Yeah, and also, yes, risk identification in the unit level. From where it starts? From the objective of the unit?
The objectives of the units, and usually the objectives of the unit actually driven from the main strategic objectives of your organization. So usually they start from the objectives of the unit.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
We have one question in chat box. How the various categories of risk are treated? That is the treatment plan. Actually, he's asking about, and how it is monitored. The treatment plan is monitored. These two questions. The various categories of risks, how they are treated, that is the treatment plan, and how it is monitored.
As I mentioned before, the risk committee members, they initially put those risks, and these risks are approved by the head of the unit. And then the risk mitigation plans are put by those responsible actions on these for these risks. The top management of that place, the director, the dean, is responsible to follow up on the mitigation of these risks. We have a cat with us attending the workshop.
I think the previous one was Mr. Tathia, not Sathia, Mr. Steinery. Please close your mic.
Yes, maybe he has a question.
Satyanarayan, please close your mic.
If I may add one example for Dr. Nasser's question when he said according to the unit level, of course, all the members for risk management within the unit level have other duties. One incident, if I can mention it as an example about health and safety, one of the objectives of each unit is the health and safety for staff, academic, and students. One incident happened that there is a leakage of water, so that has to be conducted with the operational risks. So the committee has to report that they did contact operational unit within SKU to handle this incident to avoid any kind of risks for safety of their staff, whether academic or students or staff within that unit. Other example, if there is, let's say, insects which is need to be dealt with, they have to concern the relevant department. By having this mitigation process, some of those mitigations need to be in every semester, every month. So accordingly, those kind of risk has to be mentioned within the risk register as a continual process, not just for a certain time and date and that's it. It has to be monitored all the way in order to ensure that this incident is not happening in every semester. So within risk management unit in each department or in each college help to align the main objective, which is health and safety of all workers within SKU campus. I just wanted to add that as an example to enhance your understanding about it.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, Mr. Urfi Mirza, please. Urfi, sir?
Mr. Urfi, you can please start your question.
I think some issue for his mic. Okay, till then we'll just move for the next one. Syed Suleiman, sir. Syed Suleiman.
Assalamu alaikum, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum, ma'am. Ma'am, thanks for the very informative presentation. Just I wanted to know what is the statistical data that is any collected, studied regarding risk management? Because in the framework you showed the statistics department. What sort of statistical data is studied or presented in the reports? Ma'am, is the question clear?
Yes. Regarding statistical data, actually, this is, this is under the responsibility of that. I can't really give you much on that, information on that. But usually it is the statistics in terms of, based on the KPIs that is set for each strategic objective, and then the actions for each action, there is a KPI. And then based on that, the statistic information, the number of workshops, the number of presentations, the number of staff who have attended those workshops, number of projects which have been implemented. So depending on those KPIs that is listed in the strategy. That's what I can say.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, Professor. I guess. Yes, Zainab, ma'am, please.
Mr. Urfi, you need to say something? Okay, I have one question, Mrs. Nadira. How often you updating the policy, risk management policy?
Well, standards say that at least it should be updated on yearly basis if there is a major change. Like, for example, now we are in the process of updating our risk management policy. We need, now we are having a separate policy or standard on the HSC. And then, we are separating the HSC risks from the risk management policy. So yes, it's updated. It should be updated as there are major changes, which could be done yearly. And that's what we are doing.
Now, you know that Vision Oman 2014 and the goals of the vision's different sectors. So how you align your policy with this vision?
Oh, now we are coming to the vision now.
Yes.
Okay. Well. Okay. Let me say that we have been involved. I have been involved myself in one of the teams, strategic teams that are responsible for restructuring of SKU. We have, and this is actually, a movement which has been initiated by the Vice Chancellor for this year. We have 20 teams which works on 20 strategic objectives, and within these objectives, we have put some priorities on the 2040 plan, where with regard to health, and with regard to teaching and learning, with regard to ranking the university, Ban Qaboos University, and one of the requirements of or 40 that 3 universities will be in the ranking within 300 ranking of QS ranking. So again, we are putting some efforts in that regard, how we are going to the actions that we need to put in order to achieve that aspect of Vision 2040, and that's only an example. But we have other teams and strategic teams who are working on implementing the 2040 vision.
Okay, as you show us previous the structure of the office, risk management office. There were 4 units. You have education, health and safety, and you have health and safety unit. You have operational unit, and you have some is called strategy academic unit. But a little bit confused. What is the role of the educational health and safety and health and safety as a general? Yes. And there is no clash between the strategy, academic, operation, and the operation unit?
Operational risk relates very well to HSC as well. And mentioned that HSC 70% of the risk is all about within the HSC area. So that's why we have two departments. One is about mental health and safety, in doing those investigations, evidence, compliance, and health and safety requirements. So about conducting workshops, conducting training. So they work collaboratively. By the way, I need to mention something important. I kept saying that our role is risk management office, simply because we don't have that much number in terms of number of staff. For example, HR department has only 4 staff, and you're talking about with having on daily basis more than 6, 7, 8,000 employees, including staff and students. And educated department of HSC, it's only one staff who's doing that. And for strategic department, it was me before, head of strategic and academic, now Dr. Asila, it's only one person. And then operational, again, we have only 2 staff. So that operational model that we adopted, it's with the help, we are getting the help of different experts in different areas and those risk committees to facilitate and speed up the process of implementing risk management. And usually in other institutions, when you search about health and safety department or risk management office, at least you will find 20 people, minimum number of staff in these units. So alhamdulillah, we are doing our best so far. Collaboration is going on. Committees, colleges, other units are collaborating, and we are fine, alhamdulillah. But definitely we need more staff in that regard.
Alhamdulillah. The last question, in risk registry, okay, did you classify the type of risk? It is operational risk or repetitions or health and safety risk? Did you have? Yes.
Actually, a good practice, following a good risk management practice, you have to classify those risks. You have to put categories for those risks. And Priya, coordinator of risk management office, she wants to share one of that file I wanted to share with you, and later we can send it to your email. We're using a standard way of breaking down those risks. So we have Priya, can you share that file? It will be much clearer. So within risk register, when we put the risk description, or there is risk type, and that risk type comes under what? Under strategic, under operational, under technology, under academic, and under that main risk type, there's categories. What are these categories? What are the subcategories? So we clearly code it according to those classification of and categorization of risk.
You have any methods? Because some of the risk, it can be under 3 categories. Yes, some of the risk, maybe it will be under 3 or 4 categories. Did you have a formula? How, for example, you will rate the impact in each categories, and after that we decided this it will be under this categories, or that it will be under that categories. You have some formula to follow it.
Well, that's a very good point that you have raised. You will find one risk that is affecting different types of categories. It can be under teaching, but also it can be related to technology and IT systems. So again, it's there listed under both. But the mitigation for these risks that will be specific for teaching, they have their specific mitigations. For IT, they will have specific mitigation plans. But yes, there is some risk which affects more than one area. I think we have already gone beyond.
Yes. Ms. Nadira.
So this is last question.
Sorry for the interruption, but
Go ahead.
just to categorize the risk, because you have a different leader for each type of risk, isn't it? This is why it's important for you to categorize the risk.
We categorize the risk because we want to know exactly what is the source of this risk. That is one of the things we need to know. And also it makes it easy to put the ownership and under who. As you see here, Priya has already shared that it's pretty small, the font, but it shows the risk type, category, the subcategories. This document we have communicated to all risk committees. We use it at unit risk level and strategic risk level. So you see the main types of categorizing the risk. We have those, the one in brown. So 1 strategic, and then 2 financial, 3 operational, 4 academic, 5 legal and compliance. So these are the way we categorize our risk. By the way, this is not like something that if you want to implement for your organization is fine. But again, categorization of risk, you can have your own categorization. It can be 3, it can be 2. The titles could be different. For example, if you look at strategic, that is the risk type. Under strategic, we have categories. We have leadership and governance. Under leadership itself, there is a further layer of the source of risk. It could comes under structure. It could comes under policies and procedures. It could comes under stakeholder management. Delegation of authorities, obligations, roles, responsibilities. So it specifically helps you in structuring your risk and putting the source of risks as per those categories. But this is not like it has to be this way, but this is how we do it in SQ.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
There is one question. There is one last question, ma'am.
Okay, one last question, yes.
Yes, it's by Urfi, sir. You have mentioned about ERP and ERM system, which is during your presentation. So he's asking, is it implemented in actual practice, or it is there in SQU, or what exactly?
We started recently implementing some parts of COSO ERM. Some parts, one of these parts, because if you go deeply through the contents of ISO and then COSO, and this is another workshop on that, ISO has not clearly detailed on monitoring and the role of monitoring and review. But in COSO, it's more detailed in that aspect. So that's why we're using some of the practices or mentioned in COSO, and then we use it to enhance our practices. So we utilize both standards at the meantime. That's what I can say so far.
Okay. And just, yeah, sorry, sir, please.
And it's your decision at your university whether to go for ISO, whether to go for COSO. COSO is a bit advanced, but we used ISO, as a starting point, building those practice management from zero in SQ.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope this is khalas. We are now finishing the webinar.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your questions. Thank you for your participation. Inshallah, this is open an opportunity for further collaboration. We can share our documents with you. We can, inshallah, work on other levels of cooperation. Thank you very much to all of you.
I will just move for the last part. As we can say that risk comes from not knowing what we are doing. So it is very important to focus on the risk management techniques and utilize the proper strategies to implement the assessment plan in our university or in our workplace. So now I just request Dr. Nasser Al-Hadabi, Deputy of RMC for University of Technology and Applied Sciences Al-Musanna, for the vote of thanks. Please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Kedar. Thank you, Ms. Nadira Al-Habsi, Dr. Asila Al-Harthi. Thank you for this informative presentation. I think we have learned a lot from the experience of risk management office. We know that you are very busy during the last months, and we thank you for giving the opportunity for us to learn from this successful experience. And always it's good to learn from successful experience. Thank you very much. And also I would like to thank Ms. Safia Beria for coordination with the UTAS, and also Mr. Jefferson, Ms. Riha, Mr. Kidder for helping organizing this event. And also I would like to thank all the participants for active attention. And thank you all. We hope, inshallah ta'ala, further cooperation between us and you, inshallah ta'ala. This will help both of us, inshallah ta'ala.
Inshallah, inshallah. And the line of communication is already open between us and UTAS. If you have any questions, if you have any queries regarding further queries about risk management, you can just send an email, and then whatever number of questions you have, we'll try to answer them, inshallah. No problem about that.
Inshallah ta'ala, inshallah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
إن شاء الله شكرا أستاذة نظيرة شكرا دكتورة أصيلة and شكرا للحضور الكرام. Thank you for all of you to attend this.
Our pleasure. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Jefferson sir, you can just end the meeting.